There's nothing quite like starting up a brand new YouTube channel that is mainly focused on Linux by talking about Windows. Yes, for a long time I used to be a Windows user actually. I used Windows 95 up until Windows 7. Now I did try Windows 8 and 8.1 and, well, I really didn't like them, and so did the rest of the universe. I found the full screen start menu annoying. I found the full screen apps annoying. In fact, every last aspect of Windows 8 was annoying. There really wasn't much to like about it. But here comes Microsoft once more a few years later with, wait for it, Windows 10. Yes, I have the trial version of Windows 10 installed in VirtualBox, and let's fire it up to see what Microsoft has planned for us. So, let's log in and see what we have here. So yes, this is the Windows 10 desktop. And yeah, for some strange reason, Microsoft decided to skip from Windows 9 to Windows 10 because they're crazy that way. But let's look over the desktop for a minute. So down here we have our quick launch icons like we did in Windows 7, which is good. I like that consistency. But over here we have our start menu. Now what does it look like in Windows 10? Much like it did in Windows 7. Yes, I kind of like this, but I kind of don't like this. In a way, this feels like a step backward and a step forward. On one hand, we have the Metro apps right here, the Windows 8 apps right here, and if we click on one, they will start up. And look, we have close buttons, we have maximize buttons, we have minimize buttons, like you do in pretty much every other version of Windows before Windows 8 came around. Now, this is my first legitimate criticism of this. For a desktop, this actually works fine, but for a touchscreen, yeah, I'm not too sure about this. For my observations so far is that this seems to have the opposite problem of Windows 8, where Windows 8 looked fine on a tablet and didn't work so well on a desktop. This works well on a desktop but doesn't look so great on a tablet. But let's go over more of the features here. Now, another thing I really am set back by is that, yeah, we do have the Windows 8 style tiles here. I really wish I could have the option to turn all these off all at once, but you can only do it one at a time, which is kind of a pain in the neck to do. But outside of that, that's okay. Another thing I really don't like is the position of the power button. I'm used to it being down here, but now it's up here. For a Windows user, this might be a little bit distracting and off-putting. And to log out, you have to click your screen name. But, hey, over time, one could get used to that, whatever. You know. Another thing I would like to point out is the new inbuilt search icon here. And if I type in, for example, Linux, as I already typed up there earlier, I get a Bing search. Now, this is okay. I could work with this. Whatevs, it works okay. But I do think that Microsoft should integrate the search into the single search button here, as opposed to separating it into two separate entities here. I do think that Microsoft should just put this in here somewhere, rather than leaving it as its own separate icon. For certain users, this two icon setup for search may be a little bit confusing. Now, another feature I would like to talk about is the multiple desktop application here. Now, when I open up a application, I can open up another desktop. And if I go to desktop number 2, I could open up another application, and I could run them side by side in their own separate workspace. Now, one thing I do notice that if I regularly click the window border on these windows, nothing happens. But if I go to the virtual desktop option, if I right-click, I can move this to the other desktop. I do feel that Microsoft should remedy this by allowing the windows to be freely moved from desktop to desktop by simply adding the function onto the window border. But other than that, that's okay. Not much else to say. Those three things are intriguing to me, especially the virtual desktops, because as a Linux user, I have used them for years. And for most Mac users, they've only used them for the last 2 or 3 years. But I'm not too sure if that will work here or not on Windows. I'm not too sure if most Windows users would get the concept of virtual desktops right off the bat. And rather if that works with the Microsoft layout and the Microsoft way of thinking, that's yet to be seen. But overall, my first impressions of Windows 10 are actually okay. I mean, yeah, I fully realize that this is a technological preview, but that doesn't mean that it's bad, it doesn't mean it's good, it just means that, you know, it's not finished yet. And I fully realize that the system will be modified over the course of time. And whenever that happens, I'm sure to make a video about it. But for now, this is okay. If I had to rate this, I would rate it 5 out of 10. Just to be fair, because I don't want to rank it too high, and I don't want to rank it too low. You know, nice middly position. For us Linux users, you know, for jumping back and forth between Windows and Linux, we might actually be a little bit satisfied with this, although using the Microsoft operating system isn't exactly my feeling of great bliss these days. I really don't like using Microsoft Windows on a regular everyday basis. I'd rather use Linux, but if I had to dual boot this, I wouldn't mind, you know. Use this for gaming and use Linux for pretty much everything else. You know, that would be fine. But yeah, that's my overview of Windows 10, at least this evaluation copy. I'm glad you enjoyed this if you did, and I'll be seeing you around. Bye-bye.